Welcome back, everybody. I am Helen Stubbs from the UK Department for International Trade, and I'm very pleased to present our next UK company pitch and welcome Alex Blakoe, who is COO of Cievert. Over to you, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. So, let's say that you're feeling unwell. You go to see the doctor, and then through the marvels of medicine, they detect this, that, and the other, and work out what's wrong with you. That's great. And that's the first step, the diagnosis. But then, now what? They need to work out how to treat you. How does a doctor decide what treatment is best for you and you specifically? Well, the doctor's hopefully seen hundreds of cases like yours previously, and they can draw on their knowledge and their experience, so effectively their expertise, to make a decision. And so they decide what treatment you, as the patient, should receive, because over the years, they may have identified trends in what treatment works for which type of patient. But there's a limit to the doctor's capabilities. Firstly, there's a cap on how many patients they see before they retire. And secondly, these doctors, they're brainy people, but they are still human. So they have a limited capacity for the number of cases that they can recall. And thirdly, and I think most importantly, doctors don't necessarily know what happens to a patient after they were treated. So it's difficult for them to learn what worked and what didn't. And that's, I think, a fundamental problem with medicine. In clinical trials, we know exactly how well the drugs worked and what the pros and cons are. But as soon as the drug is out in the real world, we're nowhere near as good at monitoring its effectiveness on different people. And that's where Cievert comes in. Now, our software solutions record as much as possible about a patient's clinical journey. Now, this is pretty revolutionary when most things in the NHS, for instance, the UK's NHS, are currently recorded on pen and paper, or at best as unstructured text in an EPR, an electronic patient record system. Now, our solution systematically notes who a patient is, what their diagnosis was, what treatment they received, what side effects they experienced, what their outcomes were, and so on. Can you imagine just how powerful this is when you combine this with machine learning technology? Instead of a doctor recalling all their cases, you have this AI doing the same thing, but on steroids, really. The AI can constantly learn from the patients as they go through the hospital doors and back out again. The AI can spot subtle trends and therefore work out what treatment works best for what person. Now, this won't by any means replace a doctor, but it will supercharge their capabilities. It will assist them in their decision-making so that they can really personalize treatment for each and every patient. And what does this mean for patients? This means countless lives improved and countless lives saved. But as they say, it doesn't stop there. All this rich, structured data is of real interest to the life sciences sector, as you can imagine, I'm sure. It can help pharmaceutical companies work out where their research would have the most impact. It can help medical device manufacturers recruit to clinical trials. It can help demonstrate the efficacy of treatments in the real world. And all this, again, has the power to improve and save countless lives. So it's clear that the biggest opportunity is in the use of the data, but the biggest challenge is actually the capture of the data in the first place, right? So the big question on your mind must be, how does Cievert actually capture rich, structured data such that it can be used for machine learning? The answer is simple. We develop digital solutions that clinicians actually want to use. Now, the reality, of course, is complicated, but at our core, that's what we do. We create systems that clinicians want to use because they're flexible, because they're easy to use, and they're quick to implement. So we have a platform called Casper, for instance, which manages clinical pathways. So it automatically, it automates plenty of tasks, associated referrals, so that we can get patients from diagnosis to treatment as quickly and efficiently as possible. Now, this not only saves clinicians time, but it captures data in the process. We have another platform called Penguin, which monitors patients remotely. And it does that by asking them personalized questions, and then it automatically works out the optimal time for their follow-up appointment. And again, this not only saves clinicians time, but it captures data in the process. And to date, we've managed the treatment of over 150,000 cancer patients, although we don't only work in cancer. So we have data, and we're now at the point of working with Durham University to apply machine learning techniques to that data. The goal is to achieve personalised medicine and to help inform R&D in the life sciences sector. That way, I hope that soon enough, we will be able to improve countless lives and save countless lives as well. Thank you. And I'll take any questions if there are any. Stunned silence. That's great to see. How do we ensure the quality of the data recorded? That's a really good question. So the way that our systems are designed is so that we can capture that rich structured data in a way that that can be used for the constant clinical treatment of patients. So different fields will perhaps prompt the clinician to think carefully about, for instance, what treatment protocol they should select. So if they select a particular diagnosis, then the system will prompt them, okay, these are the treatment protocols that are relevant. So we use ICD codes for the diagnosis, and then treatment protocols that are maybe local to the hospital. Then each protocol will have information associated with it. For instance, in radiotherapy, that might be number of fractionations and that information is already pre-structured, so the clinician doesn't have to fill it in every time. And so the system actually prompts them to complete the record in as complete a way as possible. So it will have required fields, for instance, without which the referral can't progress. And so you're making sure that you capture all the information when it's needed in the first place. And that means that we have data that's in a structured format, as I say, and it still doesn't make it completely seamless for the data science usage, but it's definitely a step in the right direction compared to unstructured patient data. Any other questions? So the connection, Eduardo is asking about the connection between Cievert and the UK Department for International Trade, DIT, and asking who's doing the actual R&D for the model. So Cievert is a UK company, so we're supported by the Department for International Trade, particularly as we're expanding internationally now. So we've worked in the NHS for a number of years. We manage about 25% of the UK's radiotherapy patients, for instance, and we're now starting to work abroad in the likes of Portugal in partnership with Novartis and other countries across Europe, mainly at the moment. And so the DIT are supporting us in that endeavour. The DIT are not involved in our day-to-day operations, so they're not involved in necessarily the implementation of products, the development of our products. They're not involved in the data science work. We do that internally, and we work in partnership also with Durham University, their computer science department is supporting us. That's Dr. Nora Al-Mubayed is leading our data science work. I hope that answers your question, Eduardo. Although if the DIT want to help us with our data science, they're more than happy to. I'm sure they've got plenty on their hands at the moment, though. Any last questions? I might wrap up by just saying that we're also doing an interesting project at the moment in flu vaccinations and the distribution of flu vaccinations, not just coronavirus at the moment, but your standard winter ones, and that's a really interesting project. And if anybody wants to talk to me about that, then more than happy to.